Hello and welcome to Spooky Reviews. I'm the Ghostess, and last Sunday I finally saw the most recent addition to the Ring franchise, the 2016 and then pushed back into 2017 film, Rings. Unlike a corpse that's been at the bottom of a well for 30 years, this movie is about to be spoiled. You have been warned. So, what happened? So we begin in an airplane experiencing turbulence when a nervous passenger describes watching the legendary VHS tape to the friend of someone who'd also watched it, but she'd copied the tape and he didn't, so Samara comes to ring him through the airplane control panel and causes the plane to crash. But what happened to his VCR, you ask? It's sold at a garage sale to Professor Experimental Biology Gabriel Big Bang Theory, who fixes it and watches the tape, causing rain to fall upward. The professor begins showing it to his students as part of an experiment to study the phenomenon of Samara's ability to affect the world from her afterlife, apparently documenting the effects it has and setting a countdown so he can study everything they experience until the last day when they find a tail to show the video to, consequently causing the curse to spread. College freshman Holt becomes involved in the experiment, whose high school sweetheart back home, Julia, notices that he's cut her off as a means of supposedly protecting her from the tape, but she gets suspicious after having spooky sexy nightmares and getting a vaguely threatening Skype call from a blurry-faced classmate looking for Holt. Julia heads up to campus to investigate, discovering the secret group in the Cool Kid Lounge on the 7th floor that Professor Big Bang set up. Julia follows the girl who Skyped her, whose 7 days are nearly up, and since she's unable to find a tail, she tries to show Julia the tape. Julia gets warned via text message by Holt, and Skype girl ends up ringed. Holt finds Julia and tells her he's next, so she decides to watch his digital copy of the video in order to save him, and ends up getting the 7 days phone call and a braille message burned into her hand. Turns out her copied version of the file is larger, and when they extract compressed additional footage, there are new creepy images from the future and past, many of which involve birds. This leads them to Sacrament Valley, who had kindly offered to bury Samara's body after she was unearthed from the well in the first film, and also happens to be the hometown of Evelyn, Samara's mother, played by Sissy Spacek in Ring 2. But this movie both remembers that fact and hopes you forgot about it, as it pretends that you don't know the ghostly images of Evelyn, a pregnant woman that Julia sees, are of Samara's mother. Julia's visions lead her to break into an empty grave and smash open the church window and rip up its floors. They end up discovering that Evelyn was a talented musician at the church who disappeared 30 years ago, kidnapped by a priest and kept beneath the church's bell tower in a secret room until Samara was born, even though she arrived at the nunnery 9 months pregnant. After an off-screen car crash, Professor Big Bang gets electrocuted by a fallen power line, unable to warn them about something to do with the braille on her hand. The pair meet a blind man, Vincent D'Onofrio, who claimed to have been plagued by visions from Samara, and turns out to be, dun dun dun, the rapist priest and Samara's father. They do a quick scene from Don't Breathe before Julia uncovers Samara's body and cicadas show up. Father D'Onofrio attacks Julia, but Samara rescues her by curing her dad's blindness and then killing him with her ring magic. Holt and Julia burn Samara's bones, and all is well with the world, except of course it isn't, because we all already know she isn't an innocent soul that needs to be freed. She's an angry little murder monster. Julia spits up a cicada hair cocoon, the boyfriend's computer starts auto-sending the evil video to all his friends, and it turns out the braille on her hand spelled rebirth. And we end it presuming Samara was loaded onto YouTube, causing, let's say, the end of the world. Why not? Gut reaction. This was clearly a botch job, with multiple edits and a lot left on the cutting room floor. Not only was the release date pushed back several times, with multiple writers, including Akiva Goldsman, but the trailers are full of shots that never ended up in the film. The movie sets up one plot about a college campus conspiracy, and then abruptly switches over to a retread of the original film, only this time we're investigating what happened to Samara before she was even born, only loosely tied to her in any way, and seemingly had nothing to do with why she turned out the way she did, retconning the implication from Ring 2 that her baby came from waters beyond this world, and was therefore understandably supernatural. There are tons of bizarre leaps in logic, where characters seem confident of facts that they have little evidence of, and a lot of reveals that are like, and so doesn't really add anything new to the story. A lot of it comes across extremely silly because of how the story is put together, and I have a feeling there were likely a lot of reshoots, which might explain why the acting is atrocious in parts, specifically from the lead actress. She's one note through most scenes and sounds so disengaged that she doesn't even sound like she knows what the lines she's saying mean. There's even one point the camera pans over her blank nothing expression as she has a voiceover line. "I feel all of her pain and it makes me so sick and tired." As though the director realized he couldn't get her to portray that on her face, so decided to just have her say it out loud. There are actually a ton of flat line deliveries all around, and the only actor who really brings life to this movie at all is Vincent D'Onofrio as the blind rapist priest. And on that note, whenever you make the bad guy in your movie a priest, especially with sexually violent behavior, you're pushing someone's buttons. You're going for shock value, and it seems like you're making a statement about religion, or maybe how Catholic churches have a history of covering up sexual deviance in the clergy. But for a movie covered with religious imagery, it only roughly scrapes at the idea of souls or God, and their use of it comes across as a really cheap, quick way to add some layer of depth and symbolism to your movie without adding any substance. I'm honestly curious what the original film that you saw hints of in the trailer would have ended up like, because it looked a lot more interesting, and I got the feeling while watching this that some of these scenes were vastly out of order, and a lot of things were bigger parts of the plot than they ended up being. I'm not sure what ended up causing this movie to get hacked to bits, but if there's ever a DVD or director's cut that comes out, I might honestly rent it just out of curiosity. 30 seconds for best bits, go! Vincent D'Onofrio. The new footage had some creepy imagery. I liked the font they used for the titles. There's actually some bright, warm-toned scenes to balance out the spooky green filter scenes. And credit where credit is due, I have a thing about seeing hair in people's mouths, so the ending did make me gag. End of list. Here are some pictures by an artist I really like. Seconds for nitpicks, go! Samara hijacks the plane while she's still a VHS tape before they even make a digital copy. That's fucking cheating. She's like Superman, making up her powers and limitations as it's convenient to the plot. At one point, Julia is choking and having Samara visions, so why does she see one of Aiden's drawings from the first movie? This is a complaint with all the films, but everyone who tells the legend says that someone on the other end of the phone says, "You will die in 7 days." But we only ever hear someone say, 7 days. So how did the people who never heard the story figure out that's what 7 days meant? Final thoughts. Unless you're a huge The Ring fan, I wouldn't check it out. It has some interesting ideas, but it did nothing with them, and brought up shocking, controversial things, but thought that in itself was a statement. It had an inconsistent mood, no character arcs. It's kind of like watching a season of American Horror Story. The special effects are better, and I didn't find it nearly as dull as Part 2, so that makes it at least not the worst of the Ring sequels, but not by much. All in all, 3 out of 10 spookies. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me at Spooky Ghostess on Twitter, and to see more of my thoughts on the films, visit theghostessreviews.com. Boo for now.